So what I'm going to do is leave the last 30 minutes or so to go over and help you. I can fix this very quickly. Anyone else figure out what I did wrong? Yep.
The input and outputs and the sequences.
You got it right. I forgot to change the input address that I was looking at. It should be inputs on word 1. See that? All the inputs are on word 1. So it should have been I:1 here. And the outputs should have been O:0. Oops. There it is.
O:2.
Oh, you're right. I'm not doing too well. I looked at the bit number instead of the word number. Okay, now the mask, I'm going to change these masks. I could also change them to match what I've got in the mask moves. For example, this one should be 24 in decimal. What does I put a D there? Logic's Pro converted to 18 hex. And this one should be 3 in decimal, which is also 3 in hex. The register address is fine. The length should not be 0. This has to be 4. Remember, there are 4 steps in my sequence. So now let's simulations, clear all data files, okay, download, run. And now we're filling boxes. Now, had I gotten all that right the first time, it would have looked incredibly easy to do this. But you see, there are several pitfalls in programming this. But the nice part about it is you don't have to create all this stuff. You just have to modify it a little bit. And then you put in your lists and you're ready to go. It's very common in industry, and especially in manufacturing, to have some process that occurs over and over and over again. The PLC just has to run day and night doing the same thing over and over. Okay, so these sequence instructions are very useful for that. This program is pretty useful for making any cycles out of this program. Okay. Next time we get together, I will show you state machine programming, which will take us, like I said, a whole class plus to get done. Okay. State machine, you might have looked at this so far and said, well, you've taught us truth table programming, which really isn't all that great because we have to figure out how to use seal-in bits to remember that events have happened. Now you've taught us sequence instructions, which seem to be not all that bulletproof because the sequencers can get out of sequence with each other. So what else can we do? Well, state machine programming is absolutely bulletproof. It will work exactly the way you want it to work, assuming you define the right way from the beginning. But there are a lot of steps to it, and it's a big task to complete. Okay, so it'll take us 2 class periods, essentially, probably a class period and a half, to make this happen with a state machine. Okay, but that's 3 methods of programming that should help you. Then there's, of course, what I like to call the seat of the pants programming, when you start throwing instructions in there and trying to work it out logically. Okay, that can get you in a lot of trouble, but it works too. Really, probably a better name for that is glue coding, because a lot of times you just take pieces and put them together. You find an element like this, which is the start-stop seal-in. That's very common and used everywhere, so you might use that element over and over. Maybe you program a small part of your project with a sequence machine. Maybe a state machine is more appropriate for other parts, because a state machine is actually a lot like this, but the key difference is with a state machine, you can go forward to any step or backward to any step like we were talking about. You can, in fact, you don't have to go in sequence. You can jump to any step that you want to. There are times when that's very powerful and very convenient. Okay? Anyway, I will post this. You guys can look at it, dissect it, try to understand it. I'll try to add some more comments before I do that. I will warn you, sometimes you stop this thing and then run it, and it doesn't work. Sometimes you start it, it works. Sometimes you start it, it seems to work. So really with a sequence machine like this, you need a reset button. So what I'd recommend, I'm going to add one more thing to this program because you saw the problem I just had. I'm going to add one more thing that's pretty simple. I'm going to add another rung just below here, so that whenever the start button is pressed, then I will reset. I'm going to reset 2 things. Those 2 things are the position address. So R:0.POS. How the heck did I know that? Well, let me show you. I basically want to reset the position that this sequence compare is looking at. I want it to start at the beginning of the list. So I need to reset this word. This word is stored at register R6:0.TOS. That's why I put it in here. What register would I want to reset here? R16.TOS. Okay. So I'll do the same thing. I'm going to cheat just a little bit, so I don't have to do as much. Bless you. So now I will reset both. Anytime the start button is pressed, that will reset them so that I'm guaranteed that both are starting at the beginning of the list. Okay? So let's download that. We'll run it. Notice the proc sensor is tripped. It's important that I reset the simulation as well. Why? Because if you had a problem with these boxes and you were leaking Pepto-Bismol out of one of them, right? What would you do? You'd pull the box off the line, right? And you'd get a fresh box in place. So it is realistic to say we should reset the simulation as well. So download, run, I hit start, and it just works because the positions are always restarted from the beginning. Okay. The problem with that is if I hit program right now, and I don't reset the system, and I hit run, it will look for 0, 0. I've broken the machine again. Does that make sense? So it will not pick up back where it left off. I have to clean up my mess and then start. Make sense? Now, one more thing, one very last thing. You hit stop and it doesn't stop. Well, that might be a problem, right? Because when the user hits the stop button, they expect everything to shut off. What happened? Well, I stopped it there on purpose because the only thing controlling the motor output is this sequence output instruction. And when I hit stop, that killed this seal in, which killed the instruction. It doesn't have the opportunity to turn the motor off, and it probably wouldn't anyway because it's going through the next step of the list. So I need one more line that does this. This is very easy to fix. I'll show you how. I need one more reset instruction. It's based on stop actually being not true.